What's up, my know-it-alls? That's right. It is time for the finale of Star Trek Picard Season 2. Man, I tell you what, I've been worried. I've been worried about where they were going to take the show and how they were going to land this particular bird, and it was rough. It was some rough parts, but they landed it well. I'm actually very, very excited and satisfied for the direction it's going in, and I really can't wait to see what comes next. So for now, though, here it comes, Star Trek Picard, Season 2, Episode 10, Farewell. Well, here we are, friends, at the end of a journey that has taken us through the entirety of Season 2 of Star Trek Picard. I myself I've enjoyed the ride. There's been some bumpy patches, but at the end of the day, the show has been better than not. And I'm here for a lot of what they did. I tout the successes. Before we get into the episode, I think a lot of people seem to misunderstand sometimes that. So I'm very excited for the next season. However, I was happy with All Good Things. I like the story they told. I love it. But so I heard someone recently say online, or I read recently, someone said online, I think it was Akiva Goldsmith, in fact, who said, it's going to give them the send-off and this and that they deserve. And I'm like, All Good Things was the send-off they deserved. All Good Things is a perfect show, in my opinion, and it's the perfect ending to Star Trek. Again, I love what they're doing. I'm here. I love the storytelling. I'm very engaged. So you go into this episode, and there's an awful lot of strings that have been left untended, and we start literally at the chateau, and everyone's sort of talking, and they're trying to figure out what are their next steps, and they ask, like, what if there must be, what did Q mean by there has to be two Renes, one who lives and one who dies? To which Picard looks over at Talon a little sideways and is like, what are you thinking? And Talon's like, later, Picard. And that's because they clearly know what's going on. So Talon is going to go to the launch to ensure, because they're going to break quarantine the day before the launch, and they're going to the day of the launch, and she's going to make sure and check. Just as she activates her deal, Picard steps into the transport cloud, thus going with her. And we cut to the actual launch area, and that's where Talon and Picard have a conversation, and Picard's like, no, you can't do this, and she says, whoa, I can't do this? And she proceeds to school him on the fact that he needs to stop trying to save everyone's life and trying to put the responsibility on himself. They all get to make the choices they have to make. I like where she's going with it. I appreciate the sentiment, and I think to myself, well, clearly it's because he's Picard, man. The guy's been in charge of everyone's life for a while now. Then we cut to Soong's place, where Raffi, Seven, and Rios have transported in using the smoke transporter, and they find that they think they're going to catch him, but it turns out, no, man. Picard confirms Soong is there. He's at the Europa launch. So as they're investigating Soong's lab, because they realize, oh, well, clearly this is what's going on, they heard a voice. The voice was giving a countdown to a drone launch. They thought it was fabricated, and then they realized, nope, they open up a secret panel, and there it is. Some deadly looking, actually, they're kind of silly looking, but it's Star Trek. These kinds of things are very Star Trek, the Next Generation of them. So somehow Soong had the aesthetic to create orange emergency lighting, because why not? It looks dope. It's like me. Why do I suddenly have blue lighting in the background? Like, that's how I live my normal life in this room? Anyway, so it's these drones, and they're very cool, and they're wired to go. So Raffi's have to work really hard in order to help prevent it. Meanwhile, we follow Talon. Talon has assumed the role of somebody on the Europa mission, put on the outfit, and she's on her way. And meanwhile, Soong has showed up, and he begins really just being brusque with his attendant, the lady who works for NASA, who's very thankful for his help and all this other stuff. And he's like, I want 5 minutes with them and this and that. He's just a jerk, man. I tell you what. So Rene ends up going into, I'm sorry, not Rene, Talon ends up going into Rene's, where she's at, and Rene realizes, hey, you're not the person I thought you were going to be. And Talon proceeds to tell her who she is. And they have a conversation. And Talon explains, you remember this time in your life? You remember that time in your life? That was me. You've always said you're a guardian angel, but the truth is that was me. Somebody who really loves and cares for you and wanted to make sure that you made it. I want to see you make it into space. And so you're left here with like, what you gonna do? So briefly, you cut back to Soong's place, and amidst all this stuff going on, what you get is Rios and them, as the drones start going off. And they're designed to stagger go off, and so Raffi's trying to give him at least limited control of one, if not all of them. Right at the very end of the countdown, of course, Rios gets control of one of them, and now it's an all-out, so we're going to be jumping back and forth between these two scenes, all-out run, if you will, to help and ensure and make sure the drones and everything get where they're going safely. So, not safely, but nothing happens to the people at the end result. That's what I meant. He's going to make sure everyone's safe. I have to get whatever. You get the idea. I'm really excited. So then we cut to we see Rene burst out, and she's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. This crazy woman says that she's my guardian angel, and I don't know what's going on. And Soong's like, oh, come this way. We'll see what's going on, this and that. And he shakes hands with her, and then she starts to realize she's been poisoned. He has a neurotoxin on his hand. He peels it away, and so she's going to die. Or is she? No. So we then, again, cutting back and forth, Rios manages to get control of one of the drones and manages to just take out all the others. So then we cut to Picard, or Rene, who shows up where Picard's at and is like, knows him, and he catches her, and they sit down. And this is when I started to suspect it was a bit telegraphed. I should have known. I should have thought about this, but I forgot about it. And you watch as Rene and Picard watch the shuttle go up, and then she does the thing, and it's a hologram, and it's Talon. Talon sacrificed herself for Rene. One Rene must live, one Rene must die. So then we get to see a very upset Soong, and this sets up something that's going to be super controversial. So let's get right there. He sees Rene. Soong sees Rene on the TV. He's upset about everything. He throws his stuff, and he's just very mad. And then he catches someone in his computer. Sure enough, it's Corey, and they show her. She's at a virtual I think she's at a library, actually. And she's using a virtual headset, and she's hacked into his system and has deleted and proceeds to delete all of his stuff. She's deleting all of his research, and she says she did it for her sisters. Soong is very unhappy, and here comes. Reaches into his desk. He pulls out a file folder. And on the name on the file folder, Project Con. Dun, dun, dun! Yeah, no, it's, okay, fine. I think sometimes I feel like turns like this are the writers are kind of making the Star Trek universe smaller than it needs to be. I don't know that every single person has to be interconnected with every single event, but overall, I'm like, okay, whatever, that's fine. So we then cut to Corey, and Corey gets a message, and on the message it says, "Curious what's next? Watch and observe." A fun choice of phrases, by the way, and then gives an address. So you then see oh God. My wife and I had been talking, and I had been theory crafting. I need to start doing that stuff here on the channel, because then it becomes sure you are, Mr. Know-It-All. Well, listen, when the know-it-alls sit around, guess what? We still know it all, and we're having a conversations. And so the conversation we had was, who should show up? Wesley Crusher. That's right. And he says he's a traveler. Now, I'll be fair. In my theory crafting, my wife goes, how are they going to get back? There's no ship. And I was like, because sci-fi. Then I said to her, well, what if, because I had just, remember, I said last week, I'm doing a watch through of The Next Generation, and she watched with me the Traveler episode. And so I explained to her, I said, what if this and this and this and this? And we're like, what if he shows up and he's the one that takes them back to the future?
Oh, great Scott!
And it was corny. But it was, and that's not what happens. But this is still the fact that I had a feeling he was going to show up does make me very happy. And he invites Corey into the Travelers. So, who apparently Travelers are now Guardians, and now come to find out the Travelers, they're the ones who send out supervisors. They're the ones. How much you want to bet Wesley knew, something with Talon? You know what I'm saying? Okay, I try to make the stuff make sense in my head, because as a writer, I would be like, this is my explanation! Anyways, so then they transport away. The transport is very indicative of futuristic transporting. Raffi and Seven have a moment because everyone's consigned to the fact they're probably going to have to stay here. And so, and that's when Picard is walking around the house, and Picard has his moment by the door. And he finds the little loose brick, and he has the skeleton key. He's in the past, remember. If he was going to make a change to the timeline, this is where it would happen. And instead, he pulls the brick out, and he puts the key in, and he puts it back, and makes sure it's nice and perfect. And then he hears a voice. He turns around, and the voice is telling him, hey, it's all right. You made the choice. You know who you're going to be. And he finds Q in the Solarium. And Q is like looking at him, and they're talking. I'm going to put video of me watching the scene. I hit record on my camera because
You ask me why it matters. It matters to me. You matter to me. Even gods have favorites, you. And you've always been one of mine. Q, time's almost out.
I'm okay with this. People who want to sit here and fight and act like they know everything about every character in the world, I'm really okay with this. And Q proceeds to explain, all of this was so that Picard wouldn't die alone. And he tells him, he's like, I'm dying alone. Don't do that. And Picard's like, what is this all about? And Q looks him in the eye. And he says, I care about you. And it makes total sense. Jean-Luc Picard and the crew of the Enterprise were the only mortals to the lower creatures to challenge him. Challenge not only his ruling of everything and being able to do whatever he wanted, but challenge him on his thinking, challenge him on his games, to call him out on the carpet, to hold him to a moral standard, to genuinely say, anybody of this much power and magnitude, you have a responsibility, and when you do these things wrong, and and I think Picard made Q better. A better man, if you will. So who else would you go to at the end but your best friend? It's so crazy to think about it. Picard's his friend. So he tells him, he's like, here, get everybody together. I'll send you guys home. And so they're there and they meet, and Q he asks, is everybody ready to go? And Rios decides to stay. Rios says, hey, listen, I'm home. I'm good. And Picard realizes it and tells him, hey, you go ahead and do your thing. So then he's like, you ready to go? And Picard's like, yeah, but we're not. He's like, well, I am too, and this and that. And he says, you're not going alone. That's what this has all been about. And then he hugs him. I don't care how corny it is. If you don't feel something watching this, you're a monster. I don't care, because this moment has nothing to do with Star Trek Picard Season 1 or 2. It has to do with the history that we enjoyed in The Next Generation and everything that these two have done and experienced together. Q has seen the infinite, but he has never met anyone who was his match, and anyone who challenged him the way Picard did, and that is what he valued. how are we doing? Are we challenging one another? I don't know where you stand politically. I don't care. But in today's culture, we don't challenge each other enough. And that's what this is about. This is about big, giant, oligarchy-sized power being challenged and realizing that that challenge makes us better. All of us. Challenge your thinking. That's what Star Trek is. This is what this Star Trek is telling us. Everyone tells its own story. I loved this. This moment was so pivotal. And Q then says, well, if he's staying, Rios, then, hey, I got a little more energy. I got a little gift for you. And then he snaps his finger and we cut to white. And then we're back. We're back. The ship is there. Picard is there. And he immediately cancels the red alert. And then he introduces Agnes. Dude, all the know-it-all points to whoever I can't. There's like a half dozen people, I think, in the comments over the last 10 episodes who have literally voted and said it's gonna be Jurati. It's gonna be Jurati. It's gonna be. Even when I waffled and I thought it was gonna be Seven for a minute, it was Jurati, bro, and I loved it. That was so exciting for me. Yeah, man. And then and she explains flat, and he cancels the detonation, and she explains, I need all, and she shows him this thing. Now, this is where the storytelling gets this is where it gets choppy for me, because I feel like it was very convenient. We had no setup that there was this going on. We did have the original, you had the thing with the Borg and whatnot, but we had nothing that told us there was a galactic size event getting ready to happen. So I felt like this is this feels like a manufactured, not, I didn't like this. I didn't like this piece. Doesn't change anything. I think what they're doing is still really good in the episode, but this piece felt very contrived for what they're doing. And Jurati explains, that's what I'm here to help and do, and Picard says they're going to take over the fleet, she's going to do the thing, and then he takes a moment and they say, well, who knows, Picard says, who knows all of this best? And he backs up and he says, and the helmsman's like, Where's Captain Rios? And Picard's like, stand your ground, Helms. That's an order. Remember, he's still got rank, man. At which point, Picard turns and says, the only other person with the most experience with the Borg, and he gives Seven a field commission to captain and gives her command of the Stargazer. Bro, if I don't see Seven in a Starfleet uniform next season, I hate all of you. Because literally after we found out that she should have been in Starfleet, and then Jane went, remember? We talked about it last week. And now, so again, I set up and pay off. I'm down. I love it. It's good. So Seven's commanding in charge of the fleet with Picard overseeing, and the fleet shows up at this event, and they have to harmonize their shields, and that's really what Jurati was doing, and she did it. One of the Excelsior is starting to kind of waffle, and Raffi's like, hey, you guys got to do this, and this. Come in, and they show up. Eleanor's back. That was the gift Q promised that he was going to use his last bit of energy for, and he brought Eleanor back. And sure enough, that's when, as they're doing that, this thing shoots a blast at the shields, and they have to hold their ground, and you can see this thing across the galaxy, and they show you planet after planet where this thing is lit up. Some of it's bigger, some of it's smaller, but the night sky has lit up from this. And that's when the singularity becomes a controlled transwarp conduit, but we don't know to where. And so the Borg, the new Borg, the Jurati-Borg, are there. They have requested provisional entry into the Federation for the purposes of defending this point. They're the guardians at the gate. I'm okay with this. None of this alters or changes anything. And in fact, it's exciting. Moving forward, new stuff. It's wonderful. And then we cut to 10 forward. The bar, not the one on the Enterprise. And on 10 forward, you see Guinan having a conversation. And she realizes, she's like, yeah, I couldn't really tell you too much, but thank you for helping me originally. So she did, as older Guinan, she did remember that encounter. Fair enough. And then you see she says, "I'm surprised you're not super observant," and she points to a picture on the wall. There's a picture of Rios and his wife and Teresa, and apparently she tells him the story, what happened, how he went, and how he went out like a boss. And Picard kind of offers up a cheer, a toast, and it's a good moment, man. It's a good moment. And then he says he has to go, and he goes home, and there's bags packed at the door, and he walks into the Solarium, which had been restored. And he says, there are times you want to repeat and this and that. And he asks her, can you get her a second chance? And she's got this, for both of them being the ages they are, God bless them, I'm invested. I love it. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. And you see her looking very doughy-eyed at him and like, yeah, absolutely, man, because that's what you do when you're in love. And you cut back to them and you see them through the glass, and they pull back, and it's really a beautiful moment. Yeah, so there you go. Now you know, and if knowing is half the battle, you're halfway to being a know-it-all yourself. So what is the know-it-all index for this episode? Okay, this episode, Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 10, rather. Sorry, I just did the other review or something else, Episode 6. Anyway, my know-it-all index review is Star Trek Picard, this episode specifically. This is a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. It wasn't a great episode, but it was an excellent finale to the series. How do those things reconcile? Here's how they reconcile. Series vote. The series total overall for me is an 8.5 out of 10. 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was a strong entry in the Star Trek series universe. I'm down, man. Please, give me more. Just give me more. And I know next season we're going to get the entire Next Generation crew. When I saw the trailer for that, when I saw the trailer introduce the announcing and you hear the whole thing and you hear Picard's voice and all that, I fell in love with that show. With that season, and I'm so excited for them. It's going to be everybody, and I can't even imagine what the story's going to be, but I am so intensely here for it. I love everything about what they're doing in terms of just trying to give us, thank you guys for giving me a continuation to my story. I'm okay if it ends somewhere in this area, whatnot. I'm okay with that, but at the same time, this has been really exciting living here. So yeah, check out the premiere of Strange New Worlds review. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Haters gonna hate, but at least be polite. Let the discussion and conversation happen. Every side gets a voice. I'm totally down for hearing it. If there's one thing that I've learned from Star Trek, it's what was talked about. The future is about debate and discussion and coming together to discuss ideas. And so come on, man. I'm excited. Let's talk about it. Subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment section always. Click the little bell icon so you get notified when new content drops. But otherwise, yeah, man. No new Picard next week, but you know it is Tuesdays. Trek Talk Tuesdays. I want to do a full deep dive into what we saw this week. That's Strange New Worlds, that's Picard the finale, what's coming up in the future, kind of really setting that tone. And that's really what Trek Talk Tuesdays is going to be, is discussing what's coming up, so we can all kind of be excited together for this build-up. That's what it's going to end up becoming. I am going to drop some Discovery. I need to drop Discovery Season 1 through the current Season 4 season reviews, rather. And I'll do that through Trek Talk Tuesdays as well. But yeah, man, let me know. I'll talk to you guys later. See you next time. Never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all.